Faith, Love, and Therapy, a podcast to encourage and inspire. I'm your host, Jamie Johnson, therapist that's been working in the field of mental health for the last 10 plus years. I believe this podcast is God-led and God-inspired, and I thank you for joining me as we peel back the layers of mental health from a faith perspective. So welcome back. We are in episode 31 of Faith, Love, and Therapy, and we kind of started the topic of dealing with unresolved issues and what they lead to. So in episode 29, I talked about the family of origin and really starting to unpack that and look at the things that have impacted us because it affects how we are now. And I want to look at some of the unresolved, when things are unresolved in our past, what are some of the things that we can possibly deal with, things that we've learned, things that we have to unlearn, that sort of thing. And the last episode, I focused on perfectionism. And so this particular episode, I want to look at more of codependent patterns that develop because of unresolved issues in our past. And oftentimes we think of codependent behavior resulting from a family. So specifically, it's more seen when there has been addiction in the family, or there has been a spouse that has addiction, or a close loved one where codependent tendencies can develop. I have seen codependent behaviors develop when there wasn't necessarily addiction involved, but there were mental health diagnosis involved. And so I just want to talk about codependent behaviors a little bit, because I think it is greater than probably we recognize. I think it's happening very often. And so to clarify, so codependency involves a tendency towards unhealthy emotions and behaviors in one's relationship. So it's pretty much underpinned. It is focused or related to denial, low self-esteem, compliance, avoidance, and control. Those are core issues that an individual with codependent behavior will wrestle with or struggle with. So denial, low self-esteem, compliance, avoidance, and control. So we're going to look at kind of contrasting dependency thoughts and pattern behaviors so that we can really start to look at how to recover from codependent behavior. So let's look at the first pattern, which was denial. And we're going to look at contrasting. So codependent behavior will do A. Someone that's not codependent will do B. So we'll do so that you have a picture of both codependent and not non-codependent behavior. And I think as I'm going through this, I want you to kind of really take a personal assessment of what you do. And this is not, all of these things that I share are not for us to feel bad about ourselves, but it's so that we're informed and we can make decisions of how to begin to resolve some things that we have not resolved in our past. So the first one, under the branch of denial. So codependent would be denying, playing down, or misrepresenting one's feelings, your own feelings. Denying, playing down, or misrepresenting one's feelings. The contrast of that would be owning and accepting one's own emotions as valid and relevant. That would be the contrast of that. So if you're not codependent, when someone is not codependent, they're able to own and accept one's own emotions as valid and relevant. Okay? Codependent, again, under denial, lacks empathy for the feelings and needs of others. Lacks empathy for the feelings and needs of others. The contrast of that would be feeling compassion for others, their emotions, and human needs. So, very clear. Codependent, you struggle to, and this is under the heading of denial, you struggle to have empathy for others' feelings and needs. And then when we're not codependent, we feel compassion for others. Struggling to identify with or recognize one's own feelings. And then that's a codependent behavior. You have a hard time figuring out what you feel. How do I feel about this? When you struggle to know what you feel about something, that is a flag that it needs your attention. And so A non-codependent response would be you have self-awareness of your own emotions and you're able to distinguish between your thoughts and your emotions. Like you're very clear on what's happening inside. So that's under the penning of denial. And I want to make sure I'm clear. So these are areas that codependent people will struggle with. One is denial. Okay. The second one is low self-esteem. So we'll do the contrast with low self-esteem. So codependent thought pattern will be difficulty or inability to recognize or ask for things that they want or require. The non-codependent response would be being self-sufficient where possible and seeking help when appropriate when it is needed. Again, under low self-esteem, codependent would be struggling to establish adaptive boundaries with others. Non-codependent can set and maintain healthy personal boundaries. Excuse me. Low self-esteem, holding other people's approval for one's thoughts, emotions, actions more highly than their own. So always needing the approval of your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. You value that more than your own. The opposite would be more self-confident. You respect the opinions of of those that you trust without needing to win their approval, though. You don't need their approval. You're more self-confident. All right. And under the compliance pattern, codependent would say, they're neglecting and deprioritizing their own wants and needs to satisfy others. If you're not codependent, it's valuing your own wants and needs with others' requests, when others request something. So someone may want something from you or want you to do something, but you're able to value your own wants and needs as well. Okay? Compliance. Codependent would say thought pattern. It would compromise your personal beliefs and standards to avoid anger, to avoid disagreement, or to avoid rejecting others. When you're not codependent, you're able to uphold personal values and beliefs even when they displease others. Okay? That's strong. That's major. Compliance. Another one will be having trouble expressing your own view, your own thoughts, and your own emotions with others when others differ. So when you're not codependent, you're able to respect and suitably express your own personal beliefs and emotions. You can do it respectfully, even when they differ from other people. So you're seeing the contrast here. We're trying to give you a picture of codependent thought pattern and behavior versus someone that is not codependent. So kind of take in where you see yourself, and it may not be under each codependent thought pattern. So I can definitely relate with compliance. Like compliance has been a thing for me. I'm in codependent recovery. So the next one is avoidance. So codependent avoidance, critically judging others' beliefs or actions. Not codependent, you can be accepting and open to others' opinions and beliefs. Codependent, you're repressing your own emotions and wants so that one doesn't feel vulnerable. Not codependent, you're trusting and esteeming your own emotions and needs, acknowledging and respecting your own vulnerability. Not codependent, difficulty communicating when faced with potential confrontation or disagreement. You can be evasive or indirect about conflict. And so when you're not codependent, you can express yourself clearly and in a straightforward way to resolve disagreements appropriately. Where do you fall in this contrast? Are you leaning more towards codependent, or are you leaning more towards not being codependent? And then the last one, control. This is codependent, trying to persuade other people of what to believe or what to do. Trying to persuade other people of what to be and what to do. What to believe and what to do. And then when you're not codependent, you're being open, you're accepting about other people's views, their decisions, their feelings, even when they differ from one's own. Codependent, believing that others can't look after themselves. There's a level of responsibility. Whereas when you're not codependent, you're appreciating that in most cases, most mature adults can navigate their own issues. Like, you're not trying to be the fixer. You're not solving everybody's problem. You are recognizing that they are fully capable of making decisions for themselves and figuring things out and working through it without you contributing. Codependent, the last one, is insisting that other people fulfill their needs. Whereas someone that's not codependent is seeking out resources to fill their own needs, their own requirements, without asking it of other people. They are reaching out for help when it is necessary and appropriate without expecting it. So looking at that contrast, right? We want to be able to see, do I lean towards a more codependent behavior or thought pattern, or not codependent? And it's important to know this because codependent is something that can really, really create a difficult dynamic. It creates this enmeshment where you're connected in such an unhealthy way within a relationship that if that person is not healthy, that person is not happy, you're not happy. When that person is having a bad day, that means you have to have a bad day. Like, there has to be a level of emotional independence where you are able to operate independently, think independently. You are able to make your own decisions. You're able to feel confident in your ability. And so some of us, I think that there's kind of a scale when it comes to codependent behavior, where some of these areas you're a little higher on, whereas some that you're like, okay, I don't really do that. I could see that thought pattern or that feeling, but I don't succumb to it. So personal assessment. That's what we're always doing, personal assessment. Again, we're not doing anything to make us feel heavy, to feel blamed, to feel like something's wrong with us. We are exploring because we want to be emotionally well. And like I said in the last episode, most of us are struggling. Many of us struggle to go to another spiritual level in spiritual maturity, because we are emotionally not mature. We are dealing with some of these issues that won't allow us to progress. Imagine having more of a codependent mindset. How do you do the things of God, the things that God is calling you to, if you are codependent with someone, if you are unable to, express your own thoughts and feelings, if you are looking for the approval of someone else before you can make a decision, and someone else that is not the Holy Spirit. So there's a level of dependence that we need, interdependence that we need, especially with Christ. Like, we need to have this relationship where we are in this deep communion with him and conversation with him. But we have to assess the relationships that we are having here on this earth, because they are absolutely 100% affecting our ability to have a relationship with the Father. They are absolutely 100% affecting our ability to accomplish the things that we're called to accomplish. And it is important for us to really start to delve in and to slide to that opposite side of this continuum, because we don't want to be codependent. We don't want to be unable to move forward in our life because we are so wrapped up in others. And so under the areas of, denial, take some time. What areas of denial? Replay this so that you can listen to, the different categories again. Under denial, under low self-esteem, under compliance, under avoidance, and under control, because you want to see the compare and contrast, and you want to see where you fall, where you really are, and then start to do some unpacking as to, okay, how do I get to the place of being less codependent? There are several resources online where you can check in, and there's a wonderful book, Codependent No More is a good resource that you can check into. And also, if you do a little bit of research, there are several other books. Codependent behaviors is actually a major topic in mental health. So there are a lot of resources available to you. Please do some searching. Please do some self-assessment so that you're able to see what you're dealing with. Just take the topics first, and denial, low self-esteem, compliance, avoidance, and control, and see what issues you already have without looking at the compare and contrast, and then go back and listen to the compare and contrasting issues and see what you struggle with. Write them out, and then start to ask yourself some questions. I do think this is a good topic to sit in prayer with, and to really sit with God to help him allow him to help you to move through this particular issue. And again, these are things that we start to see because of unresolved issues from our past, right? So I'm hoping that this is helpful for you. Please take time to journal it. You can find the Faith, Love, and Therapy journals on Amazon. They are available for you to purchase. You can, purchase you can purchase a couple of them and just kind of start writing out and answering some questions and really talking, really exploring, I'll say, but also talking with the Father. So I hope that this has been useful. If you have the opportunity to connect with me on social media, again, I'd love to hear from you. So I thank you for joining me on this episode of Faith, Love, and Therapy. And I'm excited because I'm healing and I'm taking some folks with me. So I will see y'all next time. Take care.